Top, page 51. And we stopped where it said had style. So remember Breckenridge, the guy that had the broken wrist? So he's talking smack. He's saying, I'll get him, whatever. And then Johnny says he had his doubts. Shijumi might be able to get him again later, but he said that Breckenridge is just a big ape. Simply outclassed. Zim, he didn't. Does Johnny like Zim? No. From the moment he saw him, he says he didn't like him. But he had style. That's where we left off. Breakfast was all right. All the meals were all right. There was none of that nonsense some boarding schools have of making your life miserable at the table with like manners. If you wanted to slump down and shovel it in with both hands, nobody bothered you, which was good, as meals were practically the only time somebody wasn't riding you. The menu for breakfast wasn't anything like what I had been used to at home, and the civilians that waited on us slapped the food around in a fashion that would have made Mother grow pale and leave for her room. But it was hot, it was plentiful, and the cooking was okay, if plain. I ate about 4 times what I normally do and washed it down with mug after mug of coffee with cream and lots of sugar. I would have eaten a shark without stopping to skin him. So his appetite is massive. Ravenous. Because they're so what? They're what? Busy, working, running, doing calisthenics. They're constantly moving. And out in the cold, just being out in the cold burns a lot of calories, doesn't it? So his appetite is nuts. Jenkins showed up with Corporal Bronsky behind him as I was starting on seconds. So they're allowed to go back for seconds. That's nice. They stopped for a moment at a table where Zim was eating alone. Then Jenkins slumped onto a vacant stool by mine. Remember, Jenkins was the one that was sniffling cold. So he sent him around the armory to warm up. That was really far away. He looked mighty seedy, pale, exhausted, and his breath rasping. I said, "Here, let me pour you some coffee." He shook his head. "You better eat," I insisted. "Some scrambled eggs. They'll go down easily." So he's been breathing so hard. Have you ever had your throat aggravated? So he's not very comfortable. He says, "You have some scrambled eggs." "Can't eat." "Oh, that dirty, dirty so-and-so." He began cussing out Zim in a low, almost expressionless monotone. All I asked him was to let me go lie down and skip breakfast. Bronsky wouldn't let me. Said I had to see the company commander. So I did, and I told him I was sick. I told him. He just felt my cheek and counted my pulse and told me sick call was 9 o'clock. Wouldn't let me go back to my tent. Oh, that rat. I'll catch him on a dark night, I will. But didn't Zim show concern? Didn't Zim check him for fever? Didn't Zim check his pulse to make sure he wasn't having some kind of heart palpitations? Yeah. So he did check. He did show that he cared. And he said, "Hey, sick call's at 9. I spooned out some eggs for him anyway and poured coffee. Presently, he began to eat. Sergeant Zim got up to leave while most of us were still eating and stopped by our table. "Jenkins." Yes, sir." "At 0900, muster for sick call and see the doctor." So he's reminding him. Jenkins' jaw muscles twitched. He answered slowly, "I don't need any pills, sir. I'll get by." 0900, that's an order. And he left. Jenkins started his monotonous chant again. Finally, he slowed down, took a bite of eggs, and said somewhat more loudly, "I can't help wondering what kind of mother produced that. I'd just like to have a look at her, that's all. Did he even have a mother?" It was a rhetorical question, but it got answered. At the head of our table, several stools away, was one of the instructor corporals. He had just finished eating. He had finished eating and was smoking and picking his teeth simultaneously. He had evidently been listening. "Jenkins." Sir, do you think he's maybe nervous? He got caught bad-mouthing the commander. Don't you know about sergeants? Well, I'm learning. They don't have mothers. Just ask any trained private. He blew smoke toward us. They reproduce by fission, like all bacteria. So he's putting down, he's questioning their company commander. And what does the instructor corporal say about it? What does he do? Does he punish him? He makes a joke about it. Again, what good really would it do? Wouldn't it be better? I like the instructor corporal's tact on this. Do you think when he spoke up and said Jenkins, don't you think for a moment Jenkins was like, oh crap, I shouldn't have been talking smack about Zim. Now I'm going to get me in trouble. Do you think maybe he thought he was about to be in trouble? So he knows what he did. Basically, the instructor corporal is letting him know that what you do is wrong, but then he lightens the mood, right? Jenkins is upset, yes? So this instructor corporal tries to lighten the mood with a joke. I like that. All right, guys, this is a public school. This is the second time now we've had a Bible verse. The first one, remember, the verse number, no bueno, right? We checked. But the words were in the chapter, okay? Chapter 4 starts out also with a Bible verse, or 5, it looks like. Judges 7, 2-7. And I have read this one before. I like it. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people that are with thee are too many. Now therefore go to, proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return. And there returned of the people 22,000. So does that mean 22,000 or does that mean 2020? So a lot of them were afraid. Guys, Gideon, little backstory here, Gideon is trying to form an army, right? And the Lord was speaking to Gideon and said, you have too many. Too many. Go therefore to them, proclaim in the ears of the people, if you're afraid, don't go. So we still had a good amount of people. And there remained 10,000. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people are yet too many. You still have too many people in this fighting force you're trying to form for whatever the mission is they're doing, right? So he brought down, are yet too many. Bring them down under the water, he says, and I will try them for thee there. Try them for thee there. What do you mean? What does he mean by that? He's going to figure out which of them. He says, Gideon, bring the people that are left down to the water, and I will decide which ones you'll use. So he brought down the people unto the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue as a dog lappeth, him shalt thou set by himself. Likewise, every one that boweth down upon his knees to drink. And the number of them that drank, putting their hand to their mouth, were 300 men. And the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 will I save you. Let all the other people go. So he brought them down to the water. The Lord was looking to see who drank like a dog. In other words, who literally went down to the water with their mouth all the way down, drinking directly from the water. Does that make sense? Guys, if you are taking your whole head down to the water to drink as if you're a dog, what are your eyes looking at? Water. If you're all the way down, directly drinking with your mouth to the water, can you see anything? Is that tactful? Not tactful, no, tactically sound. So if a danger was near, wouldn't that be a bad practice? And then it says, what about kneeling? They knelt by the water. They're out too. Only 300 out of, 12,000-ish that they started with, only 300 when they went down to the water, either they weren't scared and go home, and they went into the water. Here's the way I picture it in my head. They come to the water's edge, and they crouch, and they reach down. Look at where my eyes are. They crouch down. They grab the water up. He's wanting people that are paying attention, right? If you're going to fight in my force, I'm fine with a small force if you're actually paying attention, right? I like that. 2 weeks after we got there, they took our cots away from us. That is to say that we had the dubious pleasure of folding them, carrying them 4 miles, and stowing them in a warehouse. By then it didn't matter. The ground seemed much warmer and quite soft, especially when the alert sounded in the middle of the night and we had to scramble out and play soldier, which it did about 3 times a week. But I could get back to sleep. I could get back to sleep after one of those mock exercises at once. I had learned to sleep any place, anytime. Sitting up, standing up, even marching in ranks. Why, I could sleep even through evening parades, standing at attention, enjoy the music without being waked by it, and wake instantly at the command to pass in review. Now, I have, from time to time, bragged about my ability to sleep. Who amongst you shares the superpower of sleep? What I mean by that is I have been known to sleep on gravel under a Humvee. A Humvee, a military vehicle, small military vehicle. I have fallen asleep on stairs. I have fallen asleep atop a Chinook helicopter on a flight line while F-15 Eagles are taking off under full afterburner. I can sleep. My bee hut in Afghanistan was just a couple rows away from the barrier. On the other side of the barrier was the flight line where the Chinooks would run up. You guys know what a Chinook is, right? The big helicopters with twin main rotor blades. And they'd sit there and they'd run their engines up. So, right? I can sleep through all that. So sleep is I can hit the pillow and I'm out. So who amongst you has the same superpower? You have the superpower of sleep. You are able to sleep like whenever you want. Yeah? That might be dangerous. Yeah, some places you really don't want to fall asleep. It could be dangerous. So he's like, do I believe him that he can sleep while marching? Probably not. He's basically saying that. He's like, I can sleep anywhere, anytime. Where was I? Good grief. I made a very important discovery at Camp Curry. We're at the top of page 54. Happiness, listen to this. Happiness consists in getting enough sleep. Just that, nothing more. If you are sleep deprived, is it easy to be happy about things? No. You might still be able, but it's harder, isn't it? If you are, aren't you like angry, easier, more irritable? Yep. Right? So I'm going to read that part again. Happiness consists in getting enough sleep, just that, nothing more. A lot of you stay up late playing video games. So you end up coming in the next morning, you're dreary and you're tired, and it's harder to be happy. Get some sleep, y'all. All the wealthy, unhappy people you've ever met take sleeping pills. Mobile infantrymen don't need them. Give a cap trooper a bunk and time to sack out in it, and he's as happy as a worm in an apple, asleep. Theoretically, you were given 8 full hours of sack time every night, and about an hour and a half after evening chow for your own use. But in fact, your night sack time was subject to alerts, to night duty, to field marches, and to acts of God and the whims of those over you. And your evenings, if not ruined by awkward squad or extra duty for minor offenses, were likely to be taken up by shining shoes, doing laundry, swapping haircuts. Some of us got to be pretty fair barbers, but a clean sweep like a billiard ball was acceptable, and anybody can do that. Not to mention 1,000 other chores having to do with equipment, person, and the demands of sergeants. For example, we learned to answer morning roll call with bathed. Right? So they're like, wait, what's Johnny's last name again? Anybody remember? Rico. Johnny Rico. Rico, bathed. not present. Meaning you had taken at least one bath since last reveille. So reveille is the sound at the end of the day, right? So at least since the last time you were done for the day, you have bathed. A man might lie about it and get away with it. I did a couple of times. But at least one in our company who pulled that dodge in the face of convincing evidence that he was not recently bathed got scrubbed with stiff brushes and floor soap by his squad mates, while a corporal instructor chaperoned and made helpful suggestions. Can you imagine what those helpful suggestions are? Hey, get under his left armpit. Hey, you missed a spot, right? But if you didn't have more urgent things to do after supper, you could write a letter, loaf, gossip, discuss the myriad mental and moral shortcomings of the sergeants, and, dearest of all, talk about the female of the species. We became convinced that there were no such creatures, just mythology created by inflamed imaginations. One boy in our company claimed to have seen a girl over at regimental headquarters. He was unanimously judged a liar and a braggart. So they haven't seen any women in a long time, right? They're starting to believe that there are no such things. Or you could play cards, I learned the hard way, not to draw to an inside straight, and I've never done it since. In fact, I haven't played cards since. Or if you actually did have 20 minutes of your very own, you could sleep. This was a choice very highly regarded, highly thought of. We were always several weeks minus on sleep. In other words, they're operating in a sleep deficit. How many of you operate commonly in a sleep deficit? Okay, so I usually start the week okay. By Thursday night, I am in a severe deficit on sleep. Thursday nights, I'm usually out like a rock. Last night, I slept really good. Like, I knew I needed it. What? Well, it depends on the person, they say. The average for your age group, you guys are what, like 14? 14, 15? So for your age group, if I remember correctly, and they adjust these recommendations from time to time, about 9 hours. Maybe you should go to bed earlier. So 9 hours. If when you're younger, let's say you're a 5-year-old going to like kindergarten. So five-year-old in kindergarten, they say like 11 or 12. Because you're still developing. Now you say nobody does that. My family, we do that. I make sure my kids get enough sleep. Now once you're like Kylene, she's an 8th grader. She's just 1 year behind y'all. So her bedtime, notice the air quotes, is 7:30. She is in her room, in bed by 7:30. Now she'll usually like read quietly for half an hour or an hour. If I check in on her and she's still awake by 8:30, I'm like, okay, that's enough. And she'll go to sleep. Okay? Now they get up at 5. Now, my youngest is in 3rd grade. Her bedtime is 6:30. Why is it crazy? I just told you that she should be getting, 10 hours of sleep for a 3rd grader? These are like medical recommendations. If she's getting up at 5, she really should be to sleep by 7 to get 10 hours of sleep. She's usually not to sleep by 7. It's usually more like 7:30. That's tough. What? So usually I'll if I intentionally like 10. Like last night I went to bed at 10, which gives me about 8 hours of sleep. 4:30 to 5. So guys, if I'm on a bus route, the regular bus routes, I'll get home at like 5:30, and everybody's already eaten except me. And then I've got like a half hour. My kids, I can talk to my kids or whatever. Then they're going to bed. If it's a game night, well, I'm not getting home till what, 10 after dropping the bus off. So I get home and everybody's in bed except for my wife's waiting up on me. That's it. I'm like, go to bed, go to sleep. She's always complaining she's getting no sleep. Go to sleep. I can find my way home. What?
How do you get better sleep? Because my mind doesn't shut off when I lay down. It keeps me awake even if I'm just laying.
How physically active are you?
What do you mean?
So she asked, how do you get to sleep right away? I'm tired.
I am too. I just can't sleep. Exactly.
Again, I'll ask the question, how physically active are you? When I say physically active, I mean like, are you doing physical activity? Are you lifting things, throwing things, running, moving? Shh. All right. We got some time still. Here we go. At least finish this page. Shh. So try not, and by the way, on the flip side, could you operate with a sleep surplus? If you get too much sleep, can't that actually make you feel weird too? Yeah, it actually make you more tired. Then it's like a weird negative spiral. I may have given the impression that boot camp was made harder than necessary. Here we go. This is good. This is an important page or so. I may have given the impression that boot camp was made harder than necessary. Guys, that is not correct. It was made as hard as possible and on purpose. It was the firm opinion of every recruit that this was sheer meanness, calculated sadism, fiendish delight of witless morons in making other people suffer. It was not. It was too scheduled, too intellectual, too efficiently and impersonally organized to be cruelty for the sick pleasure of cruelty. It was planned like surgery for purposes as unimpassioned as those of a surgeon. Oh, I admit that some of the instructors may have enjoyed it, but I don't know that they did. And I do know now that the psych officers tried to weed out any bullies in selecting instructors. They looked for skilled and dedicated craftsmen to follow the art of making things tough as possible for a recruit. A bully's too stupid, himself too emotionally involved, and too likely to grow tired of his fun and slack off to be efficient. Still, there may have been bullies among them, but I've heard that some surgeons, and not necessarily bad ones, enjoy the cutting and the blood which accompanies the humane art of surgery. That's what it was, surgery. Its immediate purpose was to get rid of, run right out of the outfit, those recruits who were too soft or too babyish ever to make infantry, become a mobile infantryman. It accomplished that in droves. They darn near ran me out. Our company shrank to platoon size in the first 6 weeks. Hold on. So in my experience, a company is usually around 100 people. A platoon's usually about 30 people. It follows the rule of threes. 3 platoons make up a company. 3 companies make up a battalion. 3 battalions make up a brigade. You see where that goes? Okay. So what does this mean? If they went from being a company size of 100, they were cut by 2/3. How many men did they lose? About 65 to 70 probably-ish, right? Right. I just didn't want to say 66, 67. Because it would be 66.6, which would be round up to 67. Guys, they're losing these people. Why? Let's continue. Our company shrank to platoon size in the first 6 weeks. Some of them were dropped without prejudice and allowed, if they wished, to sweat out their terms in the non-combatant services. Others got bad conduct discharges. Ooh, they did something bad there. Or unsatisfactory performance discharges. Or medical discharges. Usually you didn't know why a man left unless you saw him leave and he volunteered the information. But some of them got fed up, said so loudly, and resigned, forfeiting forever their chances of franchise. Is that kind of where Jenkins might be on the way to? I hope not, but Jenkins is starting to get loud in how upset he is. Some, especially the older men, simply couldn't stand the pace physically, no matter how hard they tried. I remember one, a nice old geezer, guys, think old geezer, named Carruthers, must have been 35. That's not old at all? What about in the military? So think about this. How old, guys, you guys say, how many of you are 15? Most of you, okay. 14? 16? Okay. So if you're 15,
How are you?
shh. If it depends on when you started. The calendar just is weird sometimes. Guys, you can join the military, real world, when you're 17. Which means that by the time you're 37, you can retire and immediately start drawing a pension. If you're active duty for 20 years. So at 37 years old, you can retire and start drawing a pension that's equivalent to 50% of your base pay. It's a retirement. Okay? 50% of your base pay. You don't have to do a thing the rest of your life if you keep a very modest lifestyle. Because you're only making half of your max base pay. Does that make sense? At 37. He's saying 35 is an old geezer. I went to basic training in AIT with a guy that was 34. His name was Westfall. I still remember that. Didn't see him ever since AIT. But his nickname was Gramps. Because he was so much older than the rest of us. I was called Pops because I was 20. Most of the recruits were 18. That's why they're calling him a geezer. But it's true. By the time you're 35, I can assure you, you're starting to feel things. You're recovering less quickly. So it's hard, yeah. Depends on what rank you are. Yeah. No, it's not too complicated. There's scales you can pull up. So later on, you can Google pay tables, pay scales for U.S. military, and they'll have like the enlisted ranks 1 through 9, E9. They'll have the officer ranks, they'll have warrant officer ranks, and you can see for how many years they've served what they make per month for base pay. All right. Still have a couple minutes. They carried him away in a stretcher while he was still shouting feebly that it wasn't fair and that he would be back. It was sort of sad because we liked Carruthers and he did try. So we looked the other way and figured we would never see him again, that he was a cinch for medical discharge and civilian clothes. Only I did see him again long after. He had refused discharge. You don't have to accept a medical. And wound up as third cook in a troop transport. He remembered me and wanted to talk old times. As proud of being an alumnus of Camp Curry as father is of his Harvard accent. And he felt that he was a little bit better than the ordinary Navy man. Well, maybe he was. But much more important than the purpose of carving away the fat quickly and saving the government the training costs of those who would never cut it, was the prime purpose of making sure as was humanly possible, that no cap trooper ever climbed into a capsule for a combat drop unless he was prepared for it. Fit, resolute, disciplined, skilled. If he's not, it's not fair to the Federation. It's certainly not fair to his teammates. And worst of all, it's not fair to him. But was boot camp more cruelly hard than was necessary? All I can say to that is this. The next time I have to make a combat drop, I want the men on my flanks to be the graduates of Camp Curry or its Siberian equivalent. Otherwise, I'll refuse to enter the capsule. So does he think the training there was good training? Yeah. But yeah, questions on friction. Anybody? Were the formulas okay? Did you guys understand the math? So we're like kind of tricky. Well, there was the video. Did you watch the video? Guys, what's normal force? You're pointing up. Right, so if a book's sitting on a table, the normal force is actually the same as its weight, right? But pushed back up on it from the table. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if the book has weight in newtons, the table's pressing up on it with the same force. Otherwise, it would go through the table. Does that make sense? So whenever you see normal force, now if you know you have to have an equation or a formula to find friction coefficient, and you know you need normal force, but you aren't given force, you're given kilograms of the book, for example. You would first have to do what? Find the weight of the book. So if you're given its mass in kilograms, you'd multiply that times Earth's gravity, so 9.81 meters per second squared. And then you'd have its weight in newtons, which is the same as the normal force pushing back up on it. And then what you multiply the normal force times by the friction coefficient to get the force of friction, right? Something like that. I don't know, I have to look. But so if you're missing something, think about what you are given and would you be able to provide. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe. Was there an example you have that you want to work? I'm not very good at just coming up with examples off the fly. How many of you all watched the video? A little bit of it? No, well, yes, but not that one. The one about in the classroom. It was torture? Good. That's what it was supposed to be. It was long, torturous. You didn't have to watch the whole thing. You could have jumped around. All right, shh, guys, shh. All right, I'll do two things here. Guys, stop talking. Oh my gosh, fourth period. Stop talking. All right, so we're going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to help you out. So, I mean, I know you want to watch all of my videos now. But if in the future there's ever a video you'd rather not watch the whole thing of, okay? So let me find, actually be back in here, wouldn't it? We go right, well, that's that one. Go another one. Was it this one? This one. Yeah. All right. Guys, so check it out. If you don't want to watch this whole terrible video, all right? It was there for you to watch the whole thing if you wanted to as some entertainment because you're bored. But there's this button where you can hit more, and then you can hit show transcript. And it shows you everything I said. And you guys know Control F, yes? So you can Control F keywords from the questions. And it will bring you right to the spots. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, I thought you guys knew. She says, why didn't you show us this later? Guys, you're the generation that's supposed to know more about this stuff than me. Okay. All right. Shh. So there's that. All right. And if you watch the whole thing, thanks, I guess, for the. I mean, this isn't on Mr. Handyish though, so it's not like I'm getting paid for it. I put it on your channel because I was going to use it for the lesson. But By the way, most of y'all did pretty well on it. The scores were pretty good. I think I told you that. We got that video I want to watch. I do want to watch it. But first, we want to watch one, this one. All right. Was there one on here that you guys wanted to look at in particular, or just any of them? All right, so let's just jump in the middle here. All right, so here's our formula. Force of friction, F subscript F, is equal to the friction coefficient times the normal force. All right, so let's just make one up. That work for you? Just make one up. Get rid of that. 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 Okay. So here we go. I do want to get some reading in today. So how do you want to do a box on a table? Yeah. That works, right? Okay, so let's say how much does the box weigh in newtons? 4. I heard 4. So 4 Newton box. All right. If we have a 4 Newton box, and let's say we're given the friction coefficient, and it is 0.04. 0.04 friction coefficient. Okay. How slippery the surface is, or how grippy. Okay. Friction coefficient. Then what is the force of friction? You just multiply them together, and you get. This is 0.16. And what's the unit going to be? Newtons. So the force of friction is 0.16 newtons in this case. If the friction pretty low friction coefficient, pretty slick, maybe like a smooth table. I don't know. That one's easy, right? Super easy. Yes. No. Maybe pretty easy because you're getting me. Okay. How about this? We'll do one like I was talking about. Let's say that the box is 4 kilograms. So you're given the mass. But the question is asking you, well, what is the friction coefficient? Okay, so we have the formula. The formula is force of friction is equal to friction coefficient times normal force. Yes? Okay. If we're given the mass, and let's say we are looking for friction coefficient, we would also need to have, let's give the friction force. So let's say the friction force is 20. So it'd be 20 newtons is equal to, we're looking for the friction coefficient, and then we need the normal force. Are we given the normal force? No, but what are we given? We're given the mass, not the weight, we're given the mass of the box. But I need the normal force. What is the normal force equal to? Which is the weight of the box. So I take gravity times the mass, and what do I get? 9.81 times 4 is? What is it? 39.24. And that's going to be in newtons because it's a weight, which is a force. And wow, just looking at this, the force of friction is almost half the weight of the box. Are we on a smooth surface? No, we're on an incredibly rough surface. We're having to push over something that's pretty tough. So what's our friction coefficient going to be? We got to isolate the variable, so we need to divide it out. And so we have the friction coefficient is equal to what? 0.51? 0.51 what? No! Nothing. It's a coefficient. It's just a number. It's just a number. Okay? Not a trick question. Well, kind of. Kind of. All right, we good? That help? That's as hard as it gets. That question right there is as hard as it gets because you have to make the connection. Oh, I'm not given the normal force. Oh no, I can't do it. Yes. What are you given? Can you connect the dots? Yeah. What? No, not remotely. Like if you ask me, would you rather join my Minecraft world or have your pinky nail ripped off the nail bed? I'd be like, take it. Take it.
Did I say that?
All right, we're in the book. We're on page 57. But 57. You thought what? Were we not there? I was pretty sure we were there. Y'all ready? Show me you're ready by. You got a book? Or next to somebody that has a book if you want to read along. Otherwise, you can just sit there and listen. We're on page 57. We actually just finished the sentence at the top. So he's talking about the training at Camp Curry, right? And he says he would refuse to get in the capsule if the trooper next to him wasn't trained there. So does he hold the training at Camp Curry in high regard?
Yes.
Yes. He is certain that if you made it through Camp Curry, you can help the team. You're not going to be a drag on the team. You've got what it takes, for sure. Okay. But I certainly thought it was a bunch of crummy, vicious nonsense at the time. So now that he's been through it and he's actually out doing missions, he now appreciates the training. But at the time, he's like, this is terrible. Little things. When we were there a week, we were issued undressed maroons for parade to supplement the fatigues we had been wearing. Dress and full dress uniforms came much later. I took my tunic back to the issue shed and complained to the supply sergeant. Since he was only a supply sergeant and rather fatherly in manner, I thought of him as a semi-civilian. I didn't know how, as of then, to read the ribbons on his chest, or I would not have dared to speak to him. Sergeant, this tunic is too large. My company commander says it fits like a tent. He looked at the garment, didn't touch it. Really? Yeah, I want one that fits. He still didn't stir. Let me wise you up, sonny boy. There are just two sizes in this army, too large and too small. But my company commander, no doubt. But what am I going to do? Oh, it's advice. Oh, hold on. I read that wrong. No doubt, he says. But what am I going to do? Johnny says. Oh, it's advice you want. Well, I've got that in stock. New issue just today. Tell you what I'll do. Here's a needle, and I'll even give you a spool of thread. You won't need a pair of scissors. A razor blade's better. Now, you tighten them up plenty across the hips, but leave cloth to loosen them across the shoulders. You'll need that later. Sergeant Zim's only comment on my tailoring was, you can do better than that. 2 hours extra duty. So he got punished for what? Altering his uniform not well enough. So I did better than that by next parade. So he tailored his own uniform. When I went through basic training, we all had our own sewing kits. And we were expected to be able to use our sewing kits. I don't know if they still do that. But you'd actually practice sewing a patch on your uniform. Or stitching up a little tear. You were expected to be able to do that. Anyway, those first 6 weeks were all hardening up and hazing, with lots of parade drill and lots of route march. Route marches, marching, but not on a smooth, road-like surface. Eventually, as files dropped out and went home or elsewhere, we reached the point where we could do 50 miles in 10 hours on the level, which is good mileage for a good horse in case you've never used your legs. We rested, not by stopping, but by changing pace, slow march, quick march, and trot. Sometimes we went out the full distance, bivouacked and ate field rations, slept in sleeping bags, and marched back the next day. What's bivouacked? What does it mean to bivouac? It means to camp. So you make camp. You might break out your field rations. What's this? It says right on it. So this is our modern field rats, right? Slept in sleeping bags and marched back the next day. Has anybody ever slept in a sleeping bag outside? In a tent or outside? Outside, a couple of you? Do you have something under the sleeping bag? Or are you just right on the ground? What's under it? A blanket under it? Okay. Yes. What have you used under the sleeping bag? Just a thin little, okay. So if you don't have anything else, you can maybe gather up some dry grass or some leaves or something to put under there. We were issued a bedroll. Okay, so a bedroll is either foam or an inflatable thin layer. What's the point of having leaves or dry grass or padding? It's not so much for comfort, it's for getting you off the ground, because the ground can be quite cold. Okay, good. One day we started out on an ordinary day's march, no bed bags on our shoulders and no rations. So they don't have their sleeping bags, they don't have their bedrolls, they don't have an MRE. So what's the expectation probably in their minds? Are we going to go out and stay out, or are we going to go out a ways and then come back? Probably going to come back. We don't have our bedrolls. We don't have any rations. All right. Shh. Or maybe they think they're going to go someplace where there's food there, or someplace to stay there. You see where we're going with this? This is like foreboding, right? When we didn't stop for lunch, I wasn't surprised, as I already learned to sneak sugar and hard bread and such out the mess tent and conceal it about my person. But when we kept on marching away from the camp in the afternoon, I began to wonder, but I had learned not to ask silly questions. We halted shortly before dark, 3 companies, now somewhat abbreviated. What does he mean the 3 companies are now somewhat abbreviated? What does he mean that the companies riddle? What does he mean that the companies are now somewhat abbreviated? They're marching out. It's hard. If you abbreviate something, you do what? You shorten it, or you make something smaller. The 3 companies, people quit. So as they're going, the training is hard. Some of the people are like, I'm done. This is miserable. We formed a battalion parade and marched through it without music. Guards were mounted, and we were dismissed. I immediately looked up Corporal Instructor Bronsky because he was a little easier to deal with than the others, and because I felt a certain amount of responsibility. I happened to be, at the time, a recruit corporal myself. These boot chevrons didn't mean much, mostly the privilege of being chewed out for whatever your squad did as well as what you did yourself, and they could vanish as quickly as they appeared. So he is, at least temporarily, in a position of like student leadership. Does that make sense? He's a student leader. Zim had tried out all the older men as temporary non-coms first, and I had inherited a brassard with chevrons on it a couple days before, when our squad leader had folded up and gone to the hospital. So they had one of these older guys that had been tried out for a leadership position, and he couldn't hack it. Something happened. Injured, I guess. He said he'd been folded up and taken to the hospital. That doesn't sound good. I said, Corporal Bronsky, what's the straight word? When's chow call? He grinned at me. I've got a couple of crackers on me. Want me to split them with you? Huh? Oh, no, sir. Thank you. I had considerably more than a couple of crackers. I was learning. No chow hall? They didn't tell me either, sonny boy. Now, I don't see any copters approaching. If I was you, I'd round up my squad and figure things out. Maybe one of you can hit a jackrabbit with a rock. In other words, don't expect there to be any food coming. Figure it out. Yes, sir. But, well, are we staying here all night? We don't have our bedrolls. His eyebrows shot up. No bedrolls. Well, I do declare. He seemed to think it over. Ever see sheep huddle together in a snowstorm? We've got sheep in this county, right? We've got some herds. If you drive and it's cold, you'll see them bundled, like huddled up together. Same thing with the cows, right? They kind of get together. For what? For warmth. Windbreak too, right? Just to block the wind. Oh, no, sir. Try it. They don't freeze. Maybe you won't. Or if you don't care for company, you guys are going to talk the whole time? Or if you don't care for company, you might walk around all night. Nobody will bother you as long as you stay inside the posted guards. You won't freeze if you keep moving. Of course, you may be a little tired tomorrow. He grinned again. I saluted and went back to my squad. We divvied up, share and share alike, and I came out with less food than I had started. Some of those idiots either hadn't sneaked out anything to eat or had eaten all they had while we marched. But a few crackers and a couple of prunes will do a lot to quiet your stomachs sounding alert. How many of you have never been really hungry before? Like where your stomach really hurts because you're so hungry? Nobody? Anybody ever had a medical procedure where they needed to fast for a day or two? Yes. So you do know at least somewhat what they're talking about. If you miss one meal, does it already start to talk to you a little bit? Your body's used to being fed at certain times. So it might start to gurgle, right? If you miss 2 meals, what's it start to feel like? What if you don't eat for a whole day? And you're marching. What is your body going to want to do? It wants to stop. Your body is going to say, stop. We don't have the energy for this. Okay, where was I? I saluted, went back to my... The sheep trick works too. Our whole section, 3 squads did it together. Are you going to talk the whole time? 3 squads did it together. I don't recommend it as a way to sleep. You are either in the outer layer, frozen on one side and trying to worm your way inside, or you're inside, fairly warm, but with everybody else trying to shove his elbows, feet, and halitosis on you. What is halitosis? Bad breath. You migrate from one condition to the other all night long in a sort of Brownian movement, never quite waking up and never really sound asleep. All this makes a night about 100 years long. We turned out at dawn to the familiar shout of, "Up you come, on the bounce," encouraged by instructors' batons applied smartly on fundaments sticking out of the piles. And then we did setting up exercises. I felt like a corpse and didn't see how I could touch my toes, but I did, though it hurt. And 20 minutes later, when we hit the trail, I merely felt elderly. Sergeant Zim wasn't even mussed, and somehow the scoundrel had managed to shave. What time do we get out of here? Oh, good. We'll finish this chapter. Good. But it doesn't even make any sense. Just the sun warmed our backs as we marched, and Zim started us singing. Oldies at first, like Le Régiment des Sombres et Mus. That's my best French. Sorry, that's as good as I can do. And caissons and halls of Montezuma. And then our own Cap Troopers polka, which moves you into quick step and pulls you into a trot. Yes. Probably Airborne Ranger. Yeah. Not right now.
Wait, what's your favorite MRE?
My favorite MRE is the chili mac is good. Spaghetti meatballs, you can't go wrong. I do like the Mexican style chicken and rice. Yeah, there's several good ones. All right. Sergeant Zim couldn't carry a tune in a sack. All he had was a loud voice, but Breckenridge had a sure, strong lead and could hold the rest of us in the teeth of Zim's terrible false notes. We all felt cocky and covered with spines, but we didn't feel cocky 50 miles later. It had been a long night. It was an endless day, and Zim chewed us out for the way we looked on parade, and several boots got gigged for failing to shave in the 9 whole minutes between the time we fell out after the march and fell back in for parade. Several recruits resigned that evening, and I thought about it, but didn't because I had those silly boot chevrons and hadn't been busted yet. So he was doing okay. The night there was a 2-hour alert. That night there was a 2-hour alert. But eventually I learned to appreciate the homey luxury of 2 or 3 dozen warm bodies to snuggle up to, because 12 weeks later, they dumped me down raw naked in a primitive area of the Canadian Rockies, and I had to make my way 40 miles through the mountains. I made it and hated the Army every inch of the way. What did they finish up with? Survival training. Like serious survival training. I'm going to repeat that. He said he was dumped raw naked, like that TV show, Naked and Afraid, Disney Channel, not Disney Channel, Discovery Channel. That'd be wild. All right, kiddies. No, Disney's got some messed up stuff, y'all. Disney has some messed up stuff. I mean, didn't they buy some franchises that are questionable at best? Disney is not Disney. Disney is a whole bunch of different things. All right, but not Naked and Afraid. Although, wait, isn't that that was Discovery Channel, but National Geographic Channel is under the Disney umbrella, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's not far. I mean, that you could easily have that show be on anyway. All right, yeah, same thing, pretty much. Shh. Shh. So he's dropped in naked in a primitive area of the Canadian Rockies, had to get 40 miles through the mountains. I wasn't in too bad a shape when I checked in, though. A couple of rabbits had failed to stay as alert as I was, so I didn't go entirely hungry, nor entirely naked. I had a nice warm thick coat of rabbit fat and dirt on my body and moccasins on my feet, the rabbits having no further use of their skins. It's amazing what you can do with a flake of rock if you have to. I guess our caveman ancestors weren't such dummies as we usually think. The others made it too, those who were still around to try and didn't resign rather than take the test. All except 2 boys who died trying. Then we all went back into the mountains and spent 13 days finding them, working with copters overhead to direct us, and all the best communication gear to help us, and our instructors in powered command suits to supervise and to check rumors. Because the mobile infantry doesn't abandon its own while there's any thin shred of hope. Then we buried them with full honors to the strains of "This Land is Ours" and the posthumous rank of PFC, Private First Class. the first of our boot regiment to go that high, because a cap trooper isn't necessarily expected to stay alive. Dying is part of his trade, but they care a lot about how you die. It has to be heads up, on the bounce, and still trying. Breckenridge was one of them. The other was an Aussie boy I didn't know. They weren't the first to die in training. They weren't the last. So Breckenridge is the one that fought Zim, right, and broke his wrist. So he ended up dying in the survival training. Guys, do soldiers and Marines and sailors, do they sometimes die in training? So I don't know if I told you this story already. When I was in basic training, we had this night infiltration course. And basically they're shooting machine guns over your head as you're crawling toward an objective. Okay, you start off in a trench. When it's your turn, you get out of the trench and you crawl through the sand. They have pyrotechnics set up in 55-gallon drums to simulate explosions around you. And they're shooting live rounds over your head. So we went through this, no problem. There had never been a fatality at this training event for 20 years. I don't remember if it was the next day or a couple days later. I was in Bravo Company, 2nd of the 39th Infantry Regiment. Alpha Company, one of their soldiers, was shot through the heart while he was still in the trench. What? So for the longest time, I have no idea what happened. It turns out, apparently, one of the machine guns, like the mount broke. So it tilted down because they were just supposed to be shooting over our heads. Does that make sense? So anyway, I don't know if that's exact. I never read the report, but that's what I heard. And I happen to have that pulled up, the story. Let me pull it over for you. Now, I probably bumped into this guy in training. I don't remember him. It was a long time ago, right? Fort Jackson soldier killed during basic training. That was on the 2nd, I guess, of December 2003. 18 years old. Died Tuesday following a basic training exercise incident at Fort Jackson. So they shut that range down until they finished the investigation. But my company had already gone through. And then I found another one. It looks like I already closed it out. But just last year, there was a 39-year-old woman going through basic training at Fort Jackson, and she died. Now they didn't have the details yet because it was still under investigation. But my thought is, like in the book, didn't they say a 35-year-old? They called him an old geezer. Training's hard. And if you're a little older, it's even harder because your body isn't as young and spry. And so my first guess was she probably died of like a heart attack or something, or a stroke, right? Because her body couldn't take it. But I don't know. It might have been something else. But yes, people die in training sometimes. So very realistic, especially since they make it sound like it's a lot tougher than most of our type of training, yes.
12 minutes left.
12 minutes left. Okay, so you didn't need to probably tell me. Appreciate that. We want to keep pushing forward?
No.
No?
No.
Do you want to do more work with...
Sure.
Okay, how about this? How about this? How about I just ask you guys about your last week or so?
Yes.
All right, so questions for you all.
Okay.
Show of hands. How many of you all not catch yourself? How many of you all legit fell? Like slipped on the ice and actually fell all the way down, like on your can? Okay. How many of you all slipped a little but caught yourself? Okay. Oh gosh, so you saved your dog? Okay. Shh. Shh. Starts the conversation. How many of you all had to clear the snow and or ice from your driveway or your stairs or anything like that? Okay. Did I already tell you about my preferred tool?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I saw a video.
Pitchfork.
It wasn't in the video.
Oh.
It was the 4.
The potato fork.
Yeah.
So we already talked about that today. All right. The potato fork. We didn't talk about it?
I was thinking
You did talk about it on the video.
Oh, okay. No, yeah. So that was the tractor. So check it out. How many of y'all know what a potato fork is? How many of y'all know what a pitchfork is? So a pitchfork is used for throwing like manure or hay, right? It's got usually 3 or 4 tines that are relatively thin. Fair? Okay. Because you're not picking up super heavy stuff with it. A potato fork is generally smaller, narrower, usually about this wide, and it's got, mine at least, has 4 much tougher tines, okay? And it's for using, you jab it into the ground, you use it like a shovel even, you can put your foot behind it, push it into the ground, and then you tilt it to bust up the ground to release the potatoes that are in there, loosens the soil so you can grab the potatoes and harvest the potatoes. Okay, so it's a potato fork. But it worked really well because we had the ice snow, right? And then it all packed in and everything. But I could take that potato fork and shove it through, jab it through, right? It can penetrate. Whereas if you were just using a snow shovel, it'd just bounce off, wouldn't it? Because you're spreading that force over too large an area. So the forks, the tines, were able to jab through all the way to the ground, and then just a quick tilt, and it busted chunks as you went. So on the steps, for example, I could just go chunk, 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 and it'd bust off like 6-inch wide pieces, and then slide it under, throw it out of the way. Worked pretty good. So don't always think you have to use it's snow, I gotta use a snow shovel. If it's ice, how many of you all thought to use an edger? So an edger is a manual edger is basically you've got your shovel stick, your broomstick part, and at the end it looks like this. It's a skinny blade on the end, and you could use that to chip. Did you used one of those and broke it? But it's a good idea as long as you don't break it. Did you like pull on it or something and it broke? Just jabbing it down it broke? Okay. Well, maybe that's not a good idea then. Try a potato fork next time. Anyway, let's see. What?
I think it's about the video where you had the snow plow.
How about this? Anybody, your family get in a accident in the car because of the conditions? Anybody? I mean, that you know. So far, I've had one student. They actually, somebody was driving, and the ice slab on top of their car fell off, and somehow that caused the accident. Guys, don't be that person that goes. Once you start driving, it is your responsibility to keep the roadways safe. If you are driving around with a 3-inch thick slab of ice on top of your vehicle that you were too lazy to bust up off of your car, that's your fault if that causes an issue. Don't be that person. The steel on the side of and the top of your cars, it's fairly thin, yes? Okay. Have you ever seen somebody hit the side of a vehicle with the side of their fist, not fist, but the soft part, to bust up the ice? Does the metal bend in and stay there? I mean, if you hit it hard enough, I suppose it could. But if you just give it a good wrap, it will bust up the ice and the metal won't dent in. It bounces right back. Does that make sense? So what I did for all of our vehicles is I went out there and I went whop, 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 whop across the top and the sides where the ice was plastered all over it. And then it busted into pieces. You can either shove it off the side or pick them off, whatever you need. So don't be that person. And you might need to warm up the interior a little bit. That helps. Didn't the sun do that for us if you had the car parked in where the sun can get it? Yeah. Using your brain there. Big brain. Hot water. So mixing very hot and very cold sometimes can cause big problems. I mean, I don't know anyone that did it, but I heard that windshields might not respond very well. Glass with really hot water when they're at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I don't know. Questions, comments, concerns about friction? Do we want to work anymore? You guys good? All right. If you want to talk, as I spit everywhere, if you want to talk about your experiences with friction over the past few days. Or lack of friction, perhaps. Did I hit record?
No. The person I'm sharing this with, he hit the other half. And like, when you put it.
All right. Schedule today. We're in here until 1:55. I appreciate you guys bringing the volume down. That's awesome when I don't have to constantly say quiet, quiet, quiet. It's annoying to you guys too, I'm sure, right? Today's agenda. Right, sure. Nope. Right, sure. Two-hour delay. Yep. Talk friction and assignment questions first. So think back to when you were doing the CK12s. If you had to clickety-clack over it because you were too lazy to look at the video or figure it out, and you just said, it doesn't matter. I want to know that. We can go over an example or two if you think you could benefit from that. Is there anybody that would like to go over a question? Like one or two? Does that sound good? Do you have one in mind, or do you just want to try to use the formula backwards and forwards once? 25? I don't think there was a 25. Well, I guess there could have been, but you would have gotten a lot wrong to be offered 25 questions. That's fine. That's fine. So somebody, do you guys want to do like a box on a table? Friction? Okay. So let's do that. Where is my favorite marker? There it is. All right. Somebody give me a weight of the box.
7 pounds, 3.6.
What is weight measured in science
7
class?
kilograms.
What is weight measured in science class?
Newton.
Newtons. So we want 7? 7 newtons. Okay, we've got a box. That's 7 newtons. That is a weight because Newton is force and weight is a force, right?
Yeah.
A force is a force, of course, of course. What?
Aren't newtons like a lot smaller than like pounds?
We could do conversion if you'd like.
Yeah.
Google machine, because that's not what we're doing. We actually did it last week, but I forget already. We got a box that is 7 newtons. It's on a table that has some sort of a friction between the two. Friction coefficient, this mu, this Greek letter-looking thing, a friction coefficient is a number that describes how rough a surface is, how much traction a surface will provide, how much friction there will be on a surface. The lower the number, the smoother the surface. Does that make sense? So like the ice that I slipped and almost bit it on yesterday would have had a very low friction coefficient. Does that make sense? Okay, what's your question?
Do you want me to convert it to pounds or kilograms?
Kilograms is not a measure of weight. Kilograms is not a measure of weight. It's a measure of mass. Very good. So ask you can ask the Google machine for the, because I don't have the conversion factor memorized. You'd say how to convert from, or actually you could just say, hey, convert 190 pounds or whatever it is you weigh into newtons, and it would do it. And it'll give you the answer, but it'll also tell you what to multiply by. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So here's our formula, guys. If you don't have this in your notes, you should probably put it in your notes. Do I occasionally let you use your notes on quizzes?
Yes.
These formulas I'll give you, guys, on a quiz. Will I give you the formula? Yeah, but I'll probably give you multiple formulas, which means you'll have to do what? Figure out which one to use, depending on the question. All right? So this one, let me fix my F here. Force of F, which is what? Friction. Force of friction is equal to the friction coefficient times normal friction. What is normal friction?
Where this.
No. He just slid a book on a table. He said this.
It has friction though.
The friction coefficient is how slippery the surfaces are past each other. As it's sliding, you'd be talking about the actual force of friction being applied. I'm asking you what normal friction
So
is.
what's the lowest amount of friction on the earth?
What is it?
Friction is the motion.
Nah. Guys, normal friction is basically going to be the equivalent.
Oh.
It'll be equal to the what of the object?
Mass.
No, the weight of the object. Because weight is a force. And friction is a force. All right, so check it out. We have the weight of the object. The normal force. Did I say normal friction? My apologies. The normal force is equal and opposite to the weight. Does that make sense? So when you're asked for the normal force, they're just telling you the table's pushing back on the weight. If it didn't, if they weren't equal, either the table would be pushing up, like making it move up, or the box would be going through the table or pushing the table into the ground, I guess. They should be equal. So the normal force, Fn for normal force, is equal to the downward weight applied. Does that make sense? So we have that, and we can put it in our formula. So we can say 7 newtons is that. Now, if I give you the friction coefficient, let's say I say the friction coefficient is 0.04, okay? Can't you quite easily find the force of friction? How do I do that? You multiply. Check it out. If you have a number next to another number in parentheses, you're doing what? You're multiplying. If it wasn't in parentheses and I had a dot there, what would I do? If I had an X here, what would I do? Why do we use parentheses instead of an X? Yes, exactly. You might think that X is a variable, it means something else. It doesn't, okay? So we just put them next to each other with one in parentheses. You know, you multiply. Could I do this?
Yeah.
Sure. It's just kind of a waste of parentheses then, though. What?
So, okay, so 7n or like, so Fn is one thing?
Fn is normal force, force normal, which is the equal and opposite to the weight of an object. Got it?
Okay, yeah.
Okay? So if you think about it, if something is sitting on, if the box is sitting on the table and you try to push it, what is causing the friction? Well, this, right? The weight and the table pushing back is going to prevent you, plus the friction coefficient, how rough is the surface, the two surfaces against each other, is going to tell you how much friction there's going to be. Force of friction. Okay, so if I multiply those together, what do we get? 0.04 times 7 is 0.28. 0.28. 0.28 what? Newtons, because it's a force of friction. Force is measured in newtons, so we're going to put it in there. Cool. Now, you might see a question, or already saw a question like this. Put this in your notes. All right, follow along. Okay, so you've got an object, in this case another box, and it's on a surface. And we're given, it is 4 kilograms. Is that a weight? It's a mass, okay? And the question might be phrased something like, hey, given the normal force, and no, it might not even say that. It says given an object, 4 kilograms, and given a force of friction, let's say the force of friction was, oh, I don't know. Let's say the force of friction is 3 newtons. Plug what you have in. What is the friction coefficient? So you'd be looking for the mu. All right? If you're looking for the mu, you've got to multiply by the normal force. What's the normal force? 4 newtons. That says 4 kilograms. So I put 4 kilograms here? No, because it's supposed to be normal force. Force is in what? Normal force. Force is measured in what? Newtons. I can't just plug in this number. This isn't in newtons. This is in kilograms. So what would I have to do? Convert it. How do I convert it? How do I go from a mass in kilograms to a weight in newtons?
Multiply it by the gravity.
Multiply by the gravity. Remember, force in newtons is equal to mass times acceleration. You're given the mass. What is the acceleration? It's due to what? Gravity. At least it wants to. The table's in the way. But you get the weight that way. So what is 4 times 9.81? 4 times 9.81. You guys got to have a calculator. You got to be ready for this. Or just do it by hand.
39.24.
39.24. 39.24 what? Newtons. Because it's a weight. A weight is a force. And force is measured in newtons. All right, so now we had to do a little pre-work, didn't we? We had to just convert it from kilograms to newtons. All right, so now what do I do? To find the friction coefficient, what do I do? How many unknown variables do we have left?
1.
Just one. I need to get it by itself, right? So I do what? Divide what?
39
By itself.
Yeah. So
This force divided by itself, which will get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
So if I get rid of it, now it's just 3 newtons equals a mu. We're done. Yes? No?
no, you're just on the difference.
Why isn't it what it says? Just,
You have to do both sides.
oh, so if I do something to this side, I have to do it to that side too. Because it's an equation. If I only do it to one side, not the other, it's no longer equal. Okay? So I'm also going to divide the 3 newtons by 39.24 newtons. And I get
That'd be like
a small decimal. What would it be?
0.08.
And 0.08 is the friction coefficient, but what is the unit? There is none. A friction coefficient is just going to be a decimal. Guys, a friction coefficient is a decimal. That's it. Questions? That's as hard as it gets. As far as these friction equations, this one's is because you're having to remember, oops, I need to convert this first. And then you just plug it in the formula. Yes.
How did we get the mu in the last equation?
Last one. Oh, the last question?
Yeah.
We were given it, weren't we?
Oh, okay.
We were. I just made it up.
How did
You're in every single one of these questions, guys. Listen. In every single one of these questions, you are going to be given 2 out of the 3 variables. And if you look at it and say, no, I only have 1 out of the 3, you probably have information that you can use to get the second of the 3, like in this case. Does that make sense? Because we needed newtons, we didn't have it, but we had kilograms, And we should remember, guys, you should remember that the acceleration due to gravity on Earth is 9.81. If you use 9.8, you still get close enough to the answer for me. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns on friction. So, friction talk. Yep. Did I take attendance? Probably not. No, it signed me out because all day sign in is supposed to be a thing, but it's not. Guys, I want you to think for a moment, and then I'll take comments. I want you to think about the last several days, like the last week. Yeah, this last week. How has friction impacted your life? Specifically due to the weather.
So as I was going to school this morning, my friend's car went on a turn and it went into the
All right. So if you are driving along and there's a curve in the road, or you're wanting to turn, if you have too much speed, the force of the momentum will exceed the force of friction, right, between your tires and the road surface. As soon as that momentum exceeds the friction force between your tires and the road surface, what's going to happen? Guys, without that force, without that friction force, Newton's first law tells us what? Yeah, the law of inertia. What's it tell us the car's going to do?
It's going to keep going.
It's going to keep going in a straight line. If you don't have enough force of friction to turn the car, you're going to just keep going. The car's like, I don't have enough contact with the road here. I don't have enough friction, so it just keeps right on going. Okay? All right. I think we're going to read. Unless you guys have questions. Does anybody have questions, comments, concerns about friction?
I wanted to share my notes.
Oh, go ahead. Can't hear you. Shh. We got a story?
Yeah.
We got a story. Shh. Chamberlain, are you alive? Okay. Shh. Shh. Go ahead. We got a story.
I walked outside to go get snow and stuff from my brother. And it was just us home. My dad called on the ring camera too. I walked outside. I went to go down my steps on my front porch. I stood that switch and I fell face first on concrete. My nose got split out. It was really bad.
You were bleeding all over?
Yeah, there's blood all over all of this stuff.
But the most important thing is your dad caught it on the ring camera.
Yeah.
Did he
Now he wants to post it.
download? Guys, if you know something's caught on a camera, those ring cameras, they only keep the video for so long. Make sure you go in.
No, he saved it. He
And
wants to post it.
Good. Download it. Yep.
No, yeah, post it. No,
All right. Shh. If he posts it to something that we can pull up, I'll pull it up. We can all watch you get a bloody nose.
I was just kind of shocked to see the water blood.
All right, we're on page 56. What's the question? Oh, story? Story, go. Hey, guys, story time. Reiner, you're sitting in your bed.
My laptop, you know, some of our slip.
Yeah,
It fell off my phone.
slid right off your bed. That's why you shouldn't just be like laying around in bed with your computer. What? Is anybody else using the bathroom?
I didn't know I could just go.
All right. Shh. Guys, do I try to treat you like young adults? I try to. Sometimes you don't allow me to. We're going to read